Okay guys, welcome to the 2026 Mvskoke Creek Nation Special Election live stream preview. That's a mouthful. I'm your host, Jared Moore, and we're doing tonight's live stream because I had a viewer request to kind of go over the election deadlines and the what we're going to see on the ballot and that type of stuff, so that's what we're doing. As you guys might know, or maybe you don't know, on May 30th, there's going to be a special election, and the special election is going to be concerned with amendments to the Mvskoke Creek Nation Constitution. And so, to start off with, you may have noticed that up here we have the MCN Election Board's website. And there's a link to everything I'm going to be talking about in the description of this video. The link is actually to this down here, this News 2026 Special Election. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Here you can see the election board has the 2026 special election updates, the sample ballot, the dates and the deadlines. First thing I'm going to take a look at here is the dates and the deadlines. So here you can see all of the deadlines. All of these have passed except for this voter registration deadline for May 19th, which is tomorrow. So, and then you see here the early voting is May 27th and 28th, and then election day is May 30th. I'm going to go back and let's see here. Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at is the sample ballot. Let me zoom in here a little bit. This is what you guys will see the election day on election day. These are the amendments to the Constitution that are proposed. Here you can see Article 1. They're going to add a Section 4 that says all laws, resolutions, ordinances, enactments, and official acts of this tribe under its former name of Mvskoke Creek Nation shall continue in full force and effect under the name of Mvskoke Nation to the extent that they are consistent with this Constitution. I'm going to pop back in really quick here. If you guys have any questions while I'm going through this stuff, you can pop it in the chat. I did want to jump in here really quick and say that I'm not going to advocate for you to vote anyway on any of these amendments. I encourage you to read the amendments and make up your own mind about how you want to vote, and then you can vote however you want to. But ethically, I'm not going to tell you guys how to vote on these, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's see here. We have a comment in the chat. He's J. Jared, in the proposed amendment 2660, do you know if it will change the name of the college as well? College of Mvskoke Nation, for instance. So with what we're voting on here, Vicenza, there is the only thing that's going to get changed is what's on the ballot, right? So that you're literally voting on just the language that's bolded and underlined here, right? Anything having to do with the college would have to be another amendment, because I think the college's name is established in the Constitution as well, right? So, well, actually, while we're talking about it, let me do this. I'm going to go to the Creek Supreme Court's website. We can look at the Constitution. I'm going to scroll down here. Sorry, it just takes me 1 second. Here we go. Yeah, see. So this is the Constitution. You guys know it. Well, I think you guys can see it up in there. You see this Article 13 is College of the Mvskoke Nation Board of Regents. And so because that's codified in the Constitution, to change anything in that, they would also need to change anything in here. The language, now you may see here that in this section it will say appointed by principal chief of the Mvskoke Creek Nation and stuff. If you read that, the let me pop this up for you guys really quick so you can see what we're talking about. Down here you will see that there is some of the Mvskoke Creek Nation name in various parts of the Constitution. But what's going to get changed if over 66% of the citizens vote for this is this part will get added in Article 1. All laws, resolutions, ordinances, enactments, and official acts of this tribe under its former name of Mvskoke Creek Nation shall continue in full force and effect under the name of Mvskoke Nation to the extent that they are consistent with this Constitution. So that's where we are in there. And then the purpose of this proposition as it follows: shall the Constitution of the Mvskoke Creek Nation be amended to replace Mvskoke with the traditional spelling of Mvskoke and delete the word Creek throughout the Constitution, including in the illustrated official seal in Section 3 of Article 1 of the Constitution, to establish the following savings clause in a newly created Section 4, Article 1 of the Constitution. So that's what would get changed by that. I'm just going to move on down here. The purpose of the proposition as follows: shall the principal chief appoint special justices to fill any vacancy, recusal on the Supreme Court, so that every case in the Supreme Court will be heard by 7 Supreme Court justices? And shall the Constitution of the Mvskoke Creek Nation be amended to read as follows? And then you see the bolded underline part: if for any reason one or more Supreme Court justices recuse from a case, special justices shall be appointed in the same manner to ensure that 7 justices hear each case. The appointment of the special justices shall only be for a particular case and shall expire at the conclusion of the case. Okay, let me see here. Okay, we have a question here. How did this become a referendum on the ballot? By collecting signatures, or is this proposed by one of the council members? Let me go and look, and I can tell you. Because what I'm going to do, Vicenza, real quick, is go to the National Council's website. I'm going to pull the agendas from, I think a quarterly session is when this stuff went through, but it might have been one of the other ones. But basically the full council sessions, and we can look and see what was done. I don't think that any of these that are on this ballot were done through a referendum or collecting signatures from citizens. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think that's the case. I think all of these were amendments that were proposed by legislators and then brought before the council. But let's look on the Mvskoke one to see. Let me go back to, I think it was quarterly session. And I'm going to see if it's listed in here. I don't see it there. Let's try. Maybe it was one of these emergency sessions. Yeah, here it is. Got lucky. Okay, so let me pop this up. You can see here that on April 14th, in an emergency session, NCA 26-060 is the one we're talking about, the amendment we're talking about. I don't see. It says the National Council finds that as a nation we have legislatively gone back to proper spelling and historical locations on our districts. And then I'm just scanning through here. I don't see anything about a referendum. There's some history stuff in here. But I don't see a referendum or signatures or anything like that in here. So I'm probably going to say no. Yeah, they're referencing pursuant to Article 9 of the Constitution, the amendments to the Constitution proposed under this act shall be valid only upon passage of this act by affirmative 2/3 votes, etc., etc. We can go look at Article 9 really quick. I'm pretty sure that is not Yes. So Article 9 is just the amendment of the Constitution. And it says, this Constitution shall be amended by passage of an amendment ordinance before the Mvskoke Creek National Council, and so on and so forth. So that's the method that they were using for that. Back to the ballots. Let me keep going down here. The next one reads, the purpose of the proposition is as follows. Shall constitutional amendments be allowed on the general election ballots if adopted by 2/3 vote of the National Council 90 days prior to a general election, and the Constitution of the Mvskoke Nation be amended to read as follows. And this is in Article 9, Section 1, which we were just looking at. And the added language here is the special election may be called by the principal chief and combined with a general election if the constitutional amendment ordinance is enacted at least 90 days prior to a general election. Okay, so they want to add that. And then the next one says the purpose of the proposition is as follows. Shall establish term limits for National Council representatives, and shall the Constitution of the Mvskoke Creek Nation be amended to read as follows. This one could be a little confusing for people because we just voted on this and it did pass. Let me come back on screen for just a minute. Oh, hold on. We got a question here. On the second proposed Vicenza Italiana, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, asks, on the second proposed amendment, how do special justices currently get filled if the proposed action is to allow chief to fill those vacancies? How do special justices currently get filled? I don't know if there are special justices currently. I think that now this is going to be my interpretation of what's written. I'm not advocating for this amendment or against this amendment. And honestly, as the interpretation of the Constitution within the government lies within the Supreme Court's purview. So any language that's in the Constitution, if there's a dispute, a legal dispute about it, the Supreme Court will go through and they will make a ruling, as we saw with other, like that's what they do. So keep that in mind. But special justices, let's go to Article 7. I think the best way to handle that question would be to go to Article 7 and just read what's in there right now, right? So this is what we have. I'm going to scan through it really quick and see if there's anything about special justices. No. Okay, so I don't see anything in the Constitution currently about special justices. So that what the special justices, how they get appointed and everything would be determined by, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing, all the language that's in there, if that makes sense to you. I don't know if that does make any sense. The language that's getting added in there, I'm going to read the whole section 2 that they're talking about. The Supreme Court shall be composed of 7 members appointed by principal chief, subject to majority approval by Mvskoke Creek National Council, and whose terms shall be 6 years beginning July 1st. No person shall be appointed as a Supreme Court justice who has a felony conviction in a court of competent jurisdiction. And then the added language would be, if for any reason one or more Supreme Court justices recuse from a case. So first, a justice would have to recuse. Special justices shall be appointed in the same manner, so the same manner being principal chief would nominate and the council would confirm, to ensure that 7 justices hear each case. The appointment of the special justices shall only be for a particular case and shall expire at the conclusion of that case. So With this language, you would have a scenario where a case gets heard at the Supreme Court. A number of justices would recuse. Even if one justice recuses, just one justice, then this process would start where the principal chief would nominate a justice, the Supreme Court would confirm him, and then the justice would get seated. So in this scenario, there's no language in here that talks about how long they have to do this or anything like that. So you could have, with this language, you could have a scenario where, let's say there's a case that goes to the Supreme Court, and the case is involving a dispute between the National Council and the executive branch. It's happened before in the past. And one of the Supreme Court justices recuses, one or more recuses, right? Which has happened in the past. Everything I'm saying has happened before. And then and this amendment has been passed, right? Where the scenario I'm saying is in a thing where this has passed and this is in the Constitution. Then Chief would nominate a justice, and if the National Council didn't want to have the case heard, they would just not confirm that justice. They could just say, no, we're not going to confirm this justice, and then Chief would have to pick somebody else, and they could just do that forever because they can't hear the case until they have the justice on there. So that's something that could happen, and in the past there have been disputes between the National Council and the Chief that have gone to the Supreme Court, and justices have recused out of those cases. So that's a problem. One of the other things I would point out here, I kind of jumped away from this, but I'm going to go back to it. The term limits. So we already had our vote on the term limits. I wanted to point out why I think that this is on the ballot again. If you look at the language here, let me pop it up for you guys. You'll see here that there's some changes that they want to make, and we have to vote on this to change this. I'm going to read the whole Article 6, Section 2. Well, let me start at the top of this for this particular one. The purpose of the proposition is as follows. Shall establish term limits for National Council representatives, and shall the Constitution of the Mvskoke Creek Nation be amended to read as follows. Article 6, Section 2. Let me see. Each representative shall be elected by a vote of his or her respective district and shall hold office for a term of 4 years, beginning with, now you see here that this language, first primary, has been struck. So first they strike that 2020, so they changed that to 2027 election cycle, and they struck out some other language, and then they replaced is to with shall, and then some other changes here. Second primary, you will see there, is struck out and is replaced with 2029. The reason I wanted to mention that is you guys may remember from the previous election coverage, one of the things I mentioned after we all voted and passed the term limit language that was, hold on just a second, let me go back to the Constitution. That's currently in there. Let me see if the the Supreme Court has that in there. I'm going to go to Article, 6? And it's Section 2. Let's see if this has been changed. So the Supreme Court hasn't updated the Constitution, the version of Constitution that they have on their website doesn't look like it has been updated with the amendment that we voted on. So I can't use that, but basically, if you'll remember from previous election coverage, I pointed out that there was language in the amendment that we voted in that had first primary. And the election code had previously been changed to remove the language for primary from it. I don't know if you guys remember when I had that discussion in a previous live stream. So I assume what they're doing here is they're trying to fix that problem by amending the Constitution again. So that's what this is. I would take a look here and see that, let me pop this up for you guys, sorry. There's also this added section down here. Council representatives shall be limited to a total of 3 terms, whether served in consecutive terms of office or non-consecutive terms. A term shall not include a partial term created by election to fill a vacancy. This law shall become effective with the filing of CA terms beginning January 2028, and only terms served after the passage of this law shall be counted toward establishing a 3-term limit. So that's also, they changed some, that language is changing some of the stuff from the amendment we voted on before. You know what? It occurs to me, let me go to the election board's page, because I think I can actually find that, the previous ballot, maybe. Let me look here. Unless they took it down. 1 second, guys. Is it in here? The vote is, but not the actual amendment. Let me dig that out. I'm trying to think where I posted that. I posted that for you guys. And I think it's on another video. Bear with me for just 1 second, because the Supreme Court hasn't updated the Constitution on their website, I need to go in and look on our live streams and see if I can find it. Or let's do this. That's the runoff. Maybe this one? No. Well, I don't know where that is. I'm going to have to dig that out. I've got it around here somewhere. Let me just do a... I wish the Supreme Court would have updated their page, because that's going to cause a problem for everybody. You guys, everybody's going to be confused with that. I will try to get a link to that in the description of this video when I find it. I've got a link to it in one of my other computers because I bookmarked that. The sample, what I'm talking about is the sample ballot from the previous amendment we passed. Let me take a look here. Who voted on the amendment, and what are they? And are they actual shareholders? If they aren't, what's their authority claim? Does that make sense? And who has proposed the amendment for 26061? Can you put in layman terms what 26-62 means and who proposed it? Okay, let me go up and start with 26-061. Okay, let me try this again. Vicenza Italian is asking, who is proposed the amendment 26-061? So who proposed the Special Justices Amendment? Let's see if, I'm pretty sure we can find that. I'm going to the National Council's, oh, sorry. I'm still on full screen. I'm going to go to the National Council's website and I'm going to try to find that amendment. It's probably in that emergency session if I had to guess. So what I'm going to do is go down here to this April 14th emergency session. This is the first place yep, here it is. Okay, let me pop this back up. You guys are making me work. Okay, so here we are again. This is from the National Council's website. This is the emergency session on April 14th. And then if we scroll down here, we see here NCA's 26-061. If I click it, it'll show us that this was introduced by Robert Huff, and he was the sponsor. And that is what's on the record for him. And this is what was added, and then this is the ballot language, and so on and so forth. Does that answer your question, Vicenza? So that's who proposed this, is Robert Huff. If we go back, though, we can see that whoever proposed it, it was passed by the council 14-0. So nobody voted against it. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one here. Okay, great. Can you put in layman terms what 26-62 means? I am going to try to do that. And again, let me bring myself back here. This is my understanding, and I'm not going to advocate for or against anything, and I might be wrong. When we vote on these guys as citizens, we're just voting on this particular language. The interpretation of the language is going to go to the Supreme Court if there is a court case or anything that results out of anything in the Constitution, if that makes sense. Like you and I may think it means something. Even the National Council or chief or somebody that proposed these amendments for us to vote on may think it means something. The Supreme Court is really going to make the determination of what it actually legally means. Okay, just let me read through this again. The purpose, let me bring it up. Sorry, guys. The purpose of the proposition is as follows. Shall constitutional amendments be allowed on the general election ballots if adopted by 2/3 vote by the National Council 90 days prior to a general election, and the Constitution of the Mvskoke Nation be amended to read as follows. Article 9, Amendment of the Constitution, Section 1. And then the added language here is the special election may be called by the principal chief and combined with the general election if the constitutional amendment ordinance is enacted at least 90 days prior to a general election. So that's what they're adding in there. You want me to explain it in layman's terms. Well, I don't know. Myself don't understand why this needs to be proposed. We have had constitutional amendments that were put on the ballot in general elections and primary elections or whatever. Like we voted on one just recently. I think they're trying to codify that to say that it can be done. I don't know that anybody has challenged one and said that any of the amendments that we voted on in the past aren't good or something like that. I don't know. But it's basically saying that the special election that's called for by an amendment to the Constitution can also be a general election if it's within 90 days prior to a general election. It looks like it's giving Chief the ability to say that this amendment, the vote for an amendment, can go on a general election ballot and it's not going to cause a problem. Okay. But like I said, I'm not the Supreme Court and they would interpret that. All right, let me move to the next question here. Hope for Life Walker is saying, who voted on the amendment and are they actual shareholders? If they aren't, what's their authority claims? Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense, Hope. And I would say that these are National Council members. So all of these referendums are coming from National Council members, proposed amendments. The council, debated it or whatever and then voted on it. And then it went to Chief's office and he signed it. And so that's where these are coming from, National Council and Chief. I don't think any of these were done through citizen initiative referendums. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. Who is president? Hope for Life Walker says those signatures is what I want to see. I don't think there were any signatures in this case. Huff or Huffed? Huffed. It's, let me go back here and I will click on it. Supreme Court Justices. You can see here, guys, and you can look at this. This is on the National Council's website. You see here, introduced, oh, I'm sorry, can't see it. Introduced by Robert Huft. Sponsors Robert Huft. Okay, that means that Robert Huft, that's Councilman Robert Huft. Okay. Okay. I think I've caught up with the questions there. Let me see if I've caught up with the ballot or the stuff. Yes. Okay. So that's where we are. Do you guys have any other questions that I might be able to answer while we're here? While I'm waiting on those questions to get propagated, don't forget, let's go back and look at the deadlines. Don't forget, May 19th is the voter registration deadline, and then you can vote early on May 27th and May 28th, and then Election Day is Saturday, May 30th. I will be streaming on Election Day while we wait for the results to come in. If you don't want to watch the stream, that's fine. The results will be posted on the Creek Nation Election Board's Facebook page, right? So let me just show you what that looks like. Which is here. So if you don't want to watch the live stream, you can go to this MCN election thing and they will have all the information I'm talking about here and also the results on the election night. So that's where we are. If you guys we do the live stream basically because there are some citizens and some of our subscribers that don't do Facebook, and I don't blame them. I don't do Facebook either. But in order for all of us to get together, that's what we're going to do is we'll do a live stream, and as it's coming in, I just realized a while back that I could do polls while I'm live streaming. So I'm going to do some polls about what you guys want to watch while we wait for those results to come in. I've got some stuff from the archive that we could play. I've got some old episodes of our TV show that we had for a long time we could play, or you could just talk to me all night. I could stay up here and talk. I don't have any idea how long it's going to take the results to come in this year. It could take a long time, or it could be really fast. I would think that it would be faster because we're just voting on these amendments, but who knows how long it's going to take. I don't see any other questions popping up. I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in tonight and checking out the preview of the live stream. And I'll be back again on May 30th. Tomorrow, there's going to be supposed to be some severe weather coming through. So tomorrow during the day, just like today, we're going to have another Res Radar stream. So you guys can come check that out. And then tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., we're going to have Russell Cobb come on Livewire, and he's going to be talking about a tour that he's going to be giving. I believe it's on May 30th, that is about on the Santa Fe line, where he gives information concerning land thefts and things like that and frauds that were committed with the Santa Fe Railroad Company and allotment land, which is pretty interesting. And if you're interested in that, you could tune in and ask him questions or get the links to where you can go and RSVP for this. So, Vicenza Italiana says, I had another question. Please see above. Let me look up here and see. How did this become a referendum on collecting? Vicenza, I'm sorry, but could you repost your question at the bottom? Because that way I can be sure. And Jared, what is the current practice with regard to term limits on council members? That is what I was trying to dig out, Vicenza. So citizens voted on term limits already and passed them, right? And let me back up here. The Supreme Court has a version of the Constitution that they have posted on their website. And it takes them a while to update when the Constitution gets amended. It took them a long time to put the free press in there. And they haven't amended the Constitution from the most recent constitutional vote. So what's in the Constitution right now is what we voted on the sample ballot in the previous election, if that makes sense. Let me see if I can't dig that out, because it's going to cause a problem. Where is that? I'm trying to remember where I stuck that link. Did I bookmark it? Give me 1 second, guys. Because I would love to read the verbatim language that was passed. Because it's not on the problem is it's not on the Supreme Court's website. Let me go into let me go in here and no. I made I copied the link that goes directly to the sample ballot for that amendment. The election board, it looks like, doesn't have it on their website is the problem. So none of the places that you would go to get the official thing have posted that. And where is that thing? Dang it. I could have swore I bookmarked it. Just bear with me for 1 second, guys. I have a lot of bookmarks on here for these various things. News. No. I thought I had it. Just give me 1 second, guys. Let me search. Nothing. Okay. You can email that link to me once you find it. I think you have my email address. Yes, I do. And I will. I wanted to show the audience, though. Let me see if I can bring it up just Googling it. Mvskoke Creek Nation Sample Ballot. That's the 2026. Maybe it's here. This? Nope. Oh, here we go. Okay. Whew, I found it. Sorry, guys. I found it not in the place that I expected to find it. So where am I? I am on our story about last year's vote. Okay, our voter coverage from last year. And you can see we posted some screen grabs of the sample ballot. I'm going to scroll down here. And you can see here that this is the stuff that we voted on last time. And then, or is this the right one? No, this is to change the name of the districts. This is not the one that put the term limits in. Well, shoot. Was that one done in the primary? Dang it. I got all excited. Let me keep looking. We had, let me put 2025 in there. District voting, is that what was changed? I thought we had already voted on term limits, or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Here it is. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. This is what we voted on last time. Sorry, guys. And this is what passed. So you can see here, Section 2, all legislative power inherent shall be vested in yada, yada, yada. A, each representative shall be elected by a vote of all his/her respective districts and shall hold office for 4 years, beginning with the first primary election after this article is effective. There is to be an election for one councilor, yada, yada. I don't see any term limit language in here. Maybe that did not get passed in this. NCA 2509. Did this get passed? It would be on the election board's website. Okay. I don't think we did the term limit vote yet, so there might not be any language in there on that. If we did vote on it, it would have been listed down here in, let's check the general. 24096, that is not the term limit one. Let me check here. No. So that's where we are. What we would be voting on for the special election is, where are we at? Yep. This language, regardless to whatever it says right now, this is what it would get changed to for the term limits. The reason I'm kind of confused about this, and I think you guys are kind of confused too, is because there was some legislation that got passed by Thomasine Yahola Osborne that had different language in it about how term limits were going to be proposed, and term limits was an issue in the previous election that was brought up. Yes, Vicenza, it says, so would that mean there are currently no current term limits? Yes, I think right now we don't have term limits. We voted on district voting last time. I don't think we've voted on term limits yet. I thought we had, but we haven't, it doesn't look like. So this would be the term limit language that we would be voting on. Each representative shall be elected by a vote of his or her respective district. The primary that I was talking about, the struck out language there, primary, is what we put in got into the Constitution, we voted on most recently for the districts. So that's kind of where we are. That primary language either needed to get removed from the Constitution or the code needed to be changed, because the code was changed last year to remove the primary language and change the names of the elections that are held every year to I don't remember what they were changed to. Let's see here. Hope for Life is saying 1900 census is the authority claims, is what I'm understanding. What about you, Jared? 1900 census? Hope, I'm a little lost on your comment there. Are you talking about for citizenship in the Mvskoke Creek Nation right now? I'm a little lost with what you're asking me there. If you want to, and you guys watching this, if you want to, if you have any other questions, you want to email them to me, I'll try to get them answered. National councilmen at the Creek Nation have to be Creek citizens, and so does Chief. And so it would be under the citizenship, the Creek by blood, or not Creek by blood, but the Creek Rolls or Freedmen Rolls from 1866 treaty is what the Creek Supreme Court has ruled. It says 1900 census written on that paper. Which paper are you talking about there, Hope? Okay. All right. Shoot me an email. My email is jmoore@mvskokemedia.com, and that's MVSKOKEMEDIA.com. And you can get that also from our website, mvskokemedia.com. It's like this Mvskoke Media. Let me pop it up so you guys can see our website. There you go. That's mvskokemedia.com, as you can see up here. And then I think we still have our emails on here. Yeah, here we go. There's me. jmoore@mvskokemedia.com. So you guys can get us there. And I'll try to answer whatever questions I can for you. And also tune into the live stream. What was I mentioning before I got off on a tangent? I think that's it. And you guys have a good Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you later. Mado, Hadam, Chihichat, please.